Welcome to Resoluna's podcast for this week. Today, we have a guest who is my client. She is lost weight, but before this all started, she mentioned, I know I'm here, but I'm a no one. Why am I here? And my response is, she's everyone, because she speaks to most of the people in the audience that are on the health and fitness journey, trying to get well. So I want to introduce my client friend, Courtney. So thank you for coming, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
I don't mean to out you that way.
Well, I mean, it's true.
But your story really is most people's story. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your original journey, younger to now, and then what got you on the health and fitness journey.
Well, I mean, life happens, right? I was a mother. I had 3 kids. I ran a business. I worked in the medical aesthetic field for most of my adult life while I was raising my kids. And then towards the end of that, as my kids got older, I went into the service industry. But, throughout all that, you're a mom, you're raising your kids, you're doing your thing, and, you're aimlessly eating, you're not moving as much because life's happening, right? And so years and years upon years of that, before you know it, you put on weight, you don't prioritize yourself, all those things are happening. Well, then I went into the service industry, which bartending specifically. And so I then, on top of all the bad habits, I was drinking more because you get off work, you drink, you go back the next day, you do it all over again. And after 5-6 years of that, before I knew it, I was overweight. I slept horribly, I ate horribly, and it showed. I looked horrible. I was, where I'm at now is 70 pounds heavier than I am right now. I was a size 14, and I was miserable. My stomach was a mess. My sleep schedule was a mess. I just got tired of feeling like crap, honestly.
Yeah.
So then what ended up happening for me was I started to have health problems. I started to get what, they're like little mini strokes or TIAs, right? And they weren't
probably didn't feel mini to you. I imagine that
No,
was
it didn't. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 47 now. So this started when I was 43, 44, because as time went on, I ended up having 3 episodes, right? And they kept telling me, listen, you need to change your lifestyle. You need to prioritize things. You need to sleep. You need to eat better. You need to do all these things. Alcohol being one of them. It wasn't that I was a big drinker. It's just when I did drink, I drank a lot, right? And I was able to tolerate it. Sure. I mean, I seemed fine. And
with drinking comes eating.
Well, yeah, if you drink horrible, then what happens is you make bad decisions. You eat horrible. Or the next day, you're unproductive. And so then you order bad food. And you know what I mean? It just comes, they just go hand in hand, honestly. So anyhow, on the very last time that I had an episode, they checked my liver enzymes and they were elevated. And I just thought to myself, like, I'm 46 years old. Like, what are we doing? I have 3 kids. They're grown. I have one that's married. At some point, I want to, I'm probably going to have grandkids. And I just thought, and they actually told me, like, listen, if you keep living this lifestyle, it's not going to end well. And it's going to end early. Do you know what I mean?
That's a big wake-up call.
So I just decided that was it. And so I just decided from that point, I'm not going to drink. I didn't have like an end date. I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to drink. Like, what am I doing? I'm just like poisoning my body at this point.
So how long has it been since you've had a drink?
It's been 15 months.
15 months.
Since I've had a drink.
Yes. Now, and there's nothing against drinking. We're not bashing
drinking. I'm not
drinking.
like saying it's, no good. Like I said, I wasn't like a crazy alcoholic. It wasn't like that. It just was about just not wanting to do it anymore. Do you know what I mean? And so I stopped, and it's a boring life. Let me tell you, like when you stop drinking, what alcohol does is make boring situations seem less boring. That's all it does, really. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I work in a bar. So imagine that. I'm sober and everyone is getting drunk.
So that has to be kind of difficult. Like, you're 15 months, no drinking, around alcohol
It is
all
at
the time.
first. It's a very lonely road. You don't get invited a lot of places. And even if you do get invited a lot of places, people are more uncomfortable with the fact that you don't drink than you are, because they feel like I'm not having a good time if I'm not drinking along with them. But I'm like, no, I'm good. You're good. You know what I mean? Like, they're more bothered by it than I am at that point.
Sounds like, from where I'm sitting, you make it sound like it's kind of easy, but I know it's not that easy to be in those situations and just say, no, I'm not going to have any.
The more social situations that I got through, so each one had its own challenge, right? So you go to your first wedding, or you go to your first birthday party, or first family function or holiday. And so initially, like, you'll have that itch, like, oh, I want to partake. I want to do what I've always done. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I want to be a part of what's happening. But what I always remind myself of is I'm going to go to bed tonight and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to feel amazing and everyone's going to feel like crap. Do you know what I mean?
So that's your tool in your toolbox.
It is. And so whenever I'm feeling like weak or I'm feeling like, oh, I really want to be part of this, I just remind myself like, no, you don't. Because this is going to end. This is a temporary moment that's going to end. And I'm going to have multiple days where I'm going to feel amazing and still be productive and do what I'm doing. And so that always kind of pulls me out of it. And as time goes on or has gone on, it becomes easier and easier. And it's also helpful that now that people understand that I'm more serious. Like 15 months, it was different when it was 15 days and, 15 weeks.
You're creating a pattern,
as time went on, people just know that I don't drink. And so now it's less, oh, you want to drink or how come you don't drink? I don't get asked the questions that make it weird for me.
Okay, so over time it gets better.
It gets easier. But I would say probably the first 3 to 4 months is probably the most challenging. Not only just socially, but like sleeping was difficult. I didn't sleep for 3 to 4 months and I tried every possible remedy out there. And I just could not regulate my sleep because alcohol was one of those things, even though you don't sleep properly. I mean, there's nothing like sober sleep, but alcohol would initially put you to sleep. It relaxes you. And, especially when you're coming down off of working all night, you just want to decompress. And so it was hard to go home and be like, all right, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Because you're kind of on a buzz from your night.
Sure.
So sleeping was very difficult. Staying asleep was very difficult. But once my body started to regulate and get used to not having the alcohol, then all of a sudden I was getting the best sleep of my life. I was just like, I've never slept like this before. You know what I mean?
So one of the things I certainly hear is that you made a commitment to yourself. So you woke up and you're like, you know what, I'm committing to this and there's nothing that's going to get in the way, not a friend, not anything. I'm doing this.
Well, I mean, alcohol was just the first step, right? So once I mastered that, then I was like, I'm going to start making better decisions with what I eat as well, right? It was much easier when you're not drinking and you start to prioritize your sleep. You go home at night, you wake up early. Going back to how boring it is, I did a lot of organizing in my house. I threw a lot of things away. I mean, I literally was trying to find things to do to occupy my time because no one was calling. There was nowhere to go. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to go to some of the events that I was normally would go to, right? Sure. So I did a lot of organizing, a lot of those, and then you just run out of those things to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but with that, I started to just make small changes. Like I changed, I didn't drink any of my calories, right? That was the first change I made. I was like, well, like if I'm already getting rid of alcohol, and that's a huge calorie, get rid of.
That's racks
now
up.
I'm going to start doing that with, I'm not going to drink sodas. I'm not going to drink juices. And so I started to change that. And then I started to change like, I'll use spray oils instead of oils. And then I stopped frying things and I started baking things. And then as time went on, then I started, the biggest change was probably about, I would say 3 weeks to 4 weeks in, I started doing research on just, health and alcohol and food and this and that. And I came across something, it was an app to download to track my food.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to track my food. I'm going to do this, right?
And you did this all on your own?
All on my own. Because again, I had a lot of time.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
I was very bored and had a lot of time. But then it just kind of dominoes from there, right? So then I started tracking my food. And you'll be surprised at how many people are not supportive.
I'm not surprised. I'm a trainer. I talk to people all day, but yes, I would agree.
Everything I did was based on how I tracked my food and how many calories I had left for the day and how active I was. And then I started to do research on, how many calories my body burns just to wake up. And then I wanted to know how I would go into a deficit. And so I determined how many calories I would have to eat per day. So now when you have a certain amount of calories that you eat per day, you have to make good decisions, right? If you want to get through the day. So I ate 1,250 calories for 7 months straight, which is not a lot.
So I want to add to that. You said you have to make good decisions, but I want to acknowledge for you is that you chose to make good decisions.
I did.
And you chose yourself and you started fighting for yourself. That's what I hear, because a lot of times people think, there's a magic stick, a magic diet, a magic pill. And the bottom line is you really had to put yourself first.
100%. You have to prioritize everything. My sleep, I went home, I ate my food. Even if I ate alone or I ate separate from everyone else, everything I did was a decision that I made for me, my goal, what my, plans were, regardless of outside influence, regardless of people feeling like I was weird or didn't understand it or, oh, you're fine, there's nothing wrong. And then it's time, like I said, same thing with drinking. Like as time went on, people just knew that's what I did. Do you know what I mean? They just finally accepted it. But there was a lot of pushback initially with the people that you surround yourself with. And, I still have my son at home. So now I'm even eating separate from him. You know what I mean? So everything kind of changes. But I was just so focused on what I was doing. And it wasn't even like a weight thing. It was that this is just byproduct of the decisions I was making, right? I was feeling better. My stomach was a mess before. Like once I started to clean up my diet and stop drinking, it was night and day. Like I mean, I had been a mess for years. I thought I literally had some sort of problem with my stomach. And the minute I stopped, the minute I stopped drinking, but the minute that I started focusing on what I ate and making better decisions, my stomach just literally started to repair itself. The other thing that I started to notice after I started eating healthy and getting rid of alcohol was, I'm 47, so I'm perimenopausal, right? And so I would get hot flashes and I would get night sweats. Gone. Completely gone. I don't get those at all.
Interesting.
So where I thought this was hormonal and this was, just part of getting older, it's for me anyways, it hasn't been. Like it's literally alleviated a lot of those symptoms that I had.
And it can be, right? I'm menopausal myself. I hear all the time that. And once again, that's a choice you're making. Sure, that comes with it. Your body's hormones are changing, but all the other things that you do can contribute to minimizing those things.
100%. They just aggravate all of the symptoms that you already have anyways, right?
Right. And what I also would like to highlight and give you credit for is like, you didn't have a background in this. You really didn't grow up in any sort of situation where you were taught how to eat.
No.
So when you say, well, I'm no one, but you're really everyone because you didn't know, but you still achieved it. So it's possible.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's so many different programs out there and so many people telling you what you should do and, do this and don't do that and what have you. And then what I decided, I'm a researcher by nature, you know what I mean? I deep dive on everything, whether it be a movie or a book or whatever, I deep dive. So what I just started doing was I spent a lot of time on YouTube, but I just started trying to find different things. I'd search different things. I really wanted to understand the science behind how your body works, how food works, even how sleep works, I have a book on the importance of sleep, you know what I mean? Just how your body recovers. And so it wasn't one thing. It was just picking from here and pulling from here and like kind of creating my own program that worked for me and my lifestyle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but it seems really difficult at first. And it is. When you first start, it's difficult, it's lonely, it's all of those things. But then it just becomes, I don't know, just part of who you are and what your life is. I always wanted to be like one of those gym people. And I was like, there's no way, right? Like I'm like the last person. Now, okay, so you get rid of alcohol. You start to make better decisions on food. You sleep better. And now I was probably about 7 months into my journey. And at the time, I was probably down 50, 60 pounds. And I was like, well, this is the time I want to start working out. You know what I mean? Because I felt like I'd already really dialed in my food and, making appropriate healthy decisions that I wanted to start to move my body more. Right. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I got to eat good. I got to stay away from alcohol and I got to move my body every day. And it really just kind of spiraled from there. And I mean, I can't imagine one without the other. And then every time I work out now, I think of food more as fuel, right? I think of it as like, I'm just fueling my body. So everything that I put in it is to nourish it, right? So I can continue to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't look at food the same way. But again, you have to transition your mind out of that too. We live in a culture where drinking is acceptable. And, you go to parties and you go to family events where food is, part of what you guys are doing, but, not necessarily the best food to eat, So you just make better decision. I mean, I don't know how any other way to put it. I mean, a lot of people talk to me and they ask me how I did it. And I tell them that motivation is wavering, right? I some days I'm motivated, some days I'm not. But every day I'm disciplined, right? And so discipline is what gets me up in the morning to go to the gym. Discipline is what gets me, to eat and make appropriate choices. People will ask me to go to a restaurant or go with my mom and they'll be like, where do you want to go? I go, it doesn't really matter where we go because I'm going to eat the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can get boring. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's something really comforting in familiarity. I know what I'm going to eat today. You know what I mean? I know what I'm going to eat for dinner, you know? So it becomes easy after a while. Initially, you have to overcome some things, but then when you dial it in and it becomes part of your life. you know?
So yes, I agree with all of those. And the things that I would like to pull from that for you is just for understanding for other people is that what you got control of and disciplined was your mind, not only your body.
It's absolutely true.
And for those people who are like, oh, well, that's great. Courtney can do it. I see, and Courtney, I know we're about wellness here and astrology, and we do lots of different things. You have some Gemini qualities, which is can be overthinking. And so, you're controlling a mind that thinks a lot and thinks fast.
Yes.
So it's not like it was easy. You had to put some effort into. So what I would be curious about is how did you attack that? Like, how did you make enough of a pause not to have an impulse decision to go, well, screw it, I'm just going to have that? Because I know your mind is fast. We work together.
Yeah.
You think a lot. So and you partially said, you tell yourself what it's going to feel like afterward. But if you can expand on that a little bit, because most people are like you or have that.
Honestly, well, it's like I said before, like this is just a byproduct, like getting healthy and losing weight. It really was a mental thing. It's being mentally strong, right? And then I am kind of a perfectionist in a lot of ways. So if I put my mind to something and I commit to something, I wasn't committing to anyone other than myself. So the only person I was going to let down was myself. But once I made that commitment and I knew I could do it, but it's been a growing experience for me emotionally, spiritually. Yes, physically, it's all there too. But really, I've helped to control like my urges, my mind, how I think, impulse control, like all of those things really probably are at the forefront of all of this, right? Because without changing my mindset, I couldn't have done any of this, right? So I read a lot. I've done a lot of reading in the last year. I do get a lot of self-help books when I'm trying, when I'm struggling. Like I could be struggling with one particular thing and it could change to something else. I have books on everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'll look for help wherever I can find it. I get help from you. You know what I mean? Like there's times when I'll be saying something, you're like, well, that sounds like a you problem. I'm like, dang it, I never really thought about it that way. You know what I mean? And then you kind of work on yourself internally.
Sometimes, yeah.
You do well at it. You get me going. So yeah, this really was a mental thing. And I think that a lot of people focus on, the end result. They focus on what I want to look like or what my goal is.
Not the process itself.
It's the process that is the most fascinating part of it. You know what I mean? Everything, like if I didn't make this to get to a goal, I did this as a lifestyle change. And I think that's a really big, difference between like, I want to weigh this much as I just want to be healthy and I want to make better decisions because ultimately with that, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to look better. They just go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so rather than looking at it as a diet or whatever, it's just, this is how I eat. This is my lifestyle. And it's just my lifestyle going forward. I just can't imagine it changing. Now, I do think that there's a hurdle, right? And then once you get past that, it becomes a little more, not that you're on autopilot, but it just becomes seamless. Like it's just easier to do it because, it's kind of like building a habit, right? A good one or a bad one.
That's
the longer
exactly
you do it, the easier it becomes. And then you just kind of go on this autopilot of, oh yeah, well, this is what I do because this is what I do. Right. You know what I mean? You're not, before where I had to really think about it and I had to really put my energy and effort into it becomes much more easy.
Yeah.
Just because it's,
It's what you're doing.
It's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if hindsight is 20/20, right? And it's like, why did you wait until it became a crisis? And could what do you think about that? Because you got to a point where you're like, oh my God, I'm having seizures.
Well, I think that a lot of people probably feel this, like you just are uncomfortable in your own skin. You're feeling, you're not at your best, potential. I didn't feel good in my own skin. I didn't feel good the way I looked. I didn't feel good the way I felt. But it was acceptable because nobody was really saying anything. But I was dealing with it. I was struggling with it. And I already felt gross, if you will. I just felt unhealthy and like insecure. And it actually will keep you from doing things when you feel insecure. Or my stomach issue. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how my stomach's going to do today because I, drank last night and now I can't go anywhere for 2 days. You know what I mean? So it just, I was tired of feeling that way. But really the catalyst for me was once I was taken to the ER again. And they're like, listen, you got 10 years. You got 10 years
That's
if you don't change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me was I already felt like crap, right? And alcohol or just bad decisions, It's a crutch. It's a numbing agent. It just kind of keeps you from dealing with like your real life and what you should be doing and being productive, because it just makes it easier to kind of just dole that out anyhow. But really for me, and I'm a mom first over anything, and I adore my kids. I mean, what mother doesn't? But I really wanted to be there for my kids. You know, I thought about that, and all of a sudden I had a panic moment that I wouldn't be there when they needed me. You know, it never ends, right? My oldest is 28. It doesn't end.
Yeah.
And so when my son was getting married, and I think about having grandkids, and I'm like, I want to get on the floor. I want to play with them. I want to do these things. And like, I had a grandmother who was an alcoholic for many years. I mean, she had quit drinking for 20 years before more than that. But she was just like, she didn't do anything. She never left the house. She was always on. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the person that's not active or not moving around or living my life. And honestly, like, I had kids really young. Like, this is my moment. Do you know what I mean? This is when I want to start doing things.
Yeah.
And so, it was just the health thing. The health thing really was the catalyst for me. And I just thought, everything that I'm doing to my body right now is because I'm making those decisions. It's not like the world is happening to me. I'm creating these problems.
And that's
not fair.
No, well, for sure. And I also, what I hear is like, or at least what I think, you tell me if you agree with this, we're seeking freedom by drinking and eating because we think we want to be free to have whatever we want. But in essence, you're then limiting yourself because the outcomes of that.
You're just putting yourself in your own personal jail.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And so would you say you found more freedom in actually being disciplined and committed than you found in basically doing whatever you wanted?
Eventually, yes.
Eventually. It takes time.
Like I said, I mean, when you have to undo years of, lifestyle to create a new one. And so, but it happens a lot quicker than you think.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because you immediately start to feel better. I mean, you immediately start to feel better. Within weeks, you're just like, man, I have all this energy and I want to get up and I want to do things. You know what I mean? And so once you start feeling that way, you're kind of like, I want more of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, the dopamine rushes that you would get from alcohol or, socializing or whatever, you find in other places. You know what I mean? And actually, exercising for me creates dopamine much longer than any alcohol or any stimulant or anything like that it has ever done for me. I can literally get up, go to the gym, set the tone for my day, and feel great for hours. Do you know what I mean?
And that's not who you were before, right?
No.
You weren't a gym person.
No.
You didn't love the gym.
No, I would go and I would just be like, I hate this every minute of it. And I wouldn't keep going. I go once here, once there. Maybe I'd last like a 2 or 3 weeks. Kind of like anyone that's in my life right now. They'll come with me for a little bit and then they kind of fall off. But you know what? Everyone's got to start at their own time.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
And make choices, right? And just to be clear, because I do know you're not independently wealthy. You work. You still have a child at home.
Yes.
But you're choosing to spend your resources, your time, your money, and your effort on things that are good for you because you were probably spending that money in the bar.
I was spending it doing dumb things anyway.
Right. Now you're paying a trainer.
People think it's crazy. I have a trainer. I go to Pilates 6 days a week. I go to my trainer 3 days a week. And I spent a lot of money to do those things. I've had to buy a whole new wardrobe. I mean, I've invested in saunas, like anything that's health related. And people are like, oh, I can't afford that. No, you can. If you spend your money wisely and you invest in yourself, you can do it. You know what I mean? The other thing that I do that annoys people that are in my life is I prioritize any workout that I have over anything else. So if somebody's like, well, let's go here. I'm like, no, I can't. I have Pilates. And they're like, cancel it. I'm like, nope. I work my world around my workouts, or I have, the gym in the morning. So I have to go to bed early. And people will get annoyed because I don't just cancel things. And I'm like, no. My life is that, then everything else. You know what I mean? So I really book my life around me, and
you're
investing
choosing.
in me. So I invest money, I invest time, and I go to bed, and that's an investment in me as well, because I know I need to rest and recover, So there's so many things that come with it. But again, they're not things that just came natural to me. They're things that I researched over time. And I would do things like, okay, do I want to eat before the gym, or do I feel better if I don't eat before the gym? Like, you do a lot of testing of how your body responds to things when you're making decisions too. How much protein do I need? Should I do this vitamin? So there's just, and everyone has to do their own thing, right?
Because everybody has their own unique
Everyone
life.
is different. There are things that are going to make other. I love Pilates. Somebody might like yoga, or swimming or biking or whatever. Like that just happened to be the thing that I love. And you and I have talked about this. Pilates isn't even like one of those like, oh, super duper workout. I mean, I weightlift for that. I honestly do Pilates because it centers me.
Yeah.
And I feel really kind of like zen afterwards. You know what I mean? So it's physical, but it's also spiritual and it's emotional for me. It really kind of just, gets rid of a lot of things for me. And I like to do my stuff in the morning because I really feel like it sets the tone for the day.
Yeah.
But, going back to, I didn't start there. I just ended. That's where I'm at now.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you were to look at me or my lifestyle, anyone that I come across is like, I can't even believe this is you.
So you mentioned emotional, right? There is some emotional impact. So how have you overcome the emotions of disappointing those people that you don't go to wherever they want to go? Like,
well, you get to the point where you just don't care. Honestly, we're adults here. And so that's not my life. It's not my lifestyle. And, I had someone recently making fun of me because I prioritize protein, right? And they drink. Everybody was getting alcohol. I'll be specific, I was going to the lake and everyone was getting their drink of choice and what they wanted to eat. And I'm over there searching around trying to find protein shakes. And everybody was just like, why? And I'm like, because I need more protein for the day. And, they're like, well, do you want some like mocktails or fake beer or this or that? I'm like, no, water and protein's good. I got some beef jerky. And it just every time I pulled out a protein, they're like, oh my God, her and her protein. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't make fun of you for your 24 seltzers you just had. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you just got to stay strong in those periods of time, and not everybody's on your same page. But as time has gone on, I don't really care because I'm just looking at you like, well, I mean, I just feel like you're drinking a lot of
empty calories.
But
I mean, for me, I chose myself. I protected myself. I honor who I am and I honor who you are. You go ahead and do that. Yeah. I'm going to do what's good for me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's not that I feel any way about anyone and whatever their decision is, because I think that every decision you make is your own and the life you live is your own. And so I know how I feel and how happy I am, and I want everyone to feel happy and however they get there. Do you know what I mean? Because I know how great I feel. I'm not saying that what I'm doing or how I've done it is for everyone, but there's no influence out there that's going to make me change how I feel, and that I would change that no matter how many people are around me and want me to do certain things. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do. And maybe this is a hard question to ask and you don't have an answer. How did you gain that strength? Because that takes a lot of strength to say, I don't care. I'm taking care of me. And you're a mom. You have 3 kids. You had your childhood, which, we haven't covered. It wasn't easy for you. It's not like you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
No. First and foremost, like I said, it was like I felt like I was being really unfair to my children by making bad decisions, and I wouldn't be here for them. I had a father that passed away really early. His father passed away really early. I already have some health conditions, and I'm like, I'm just literally making this worse. So that in itself was like, I felt like I was being unfair to my children, right? And then as time went on, I totally forgot what you're...
Well, that's okay, because what you just said was very interesting to me. You said, I didn't want to be unfair to my children, but someone could look at you saying, I'm choosing me as selfish. But in reality, your intention is to be unselfish.
I know this is so cliche, people say it all the time, but it's like being on an airplane, put the oxygen on you and then help the people around you that, if I'm no good, they're no good, right? I can't be there for them if I don't prioritize myself.
Exactly.
So
it's not selfish to take care of yourself.
No, I think it's the best gift that I can give myself for them, or anyone else that's in my life, So
to be present for them.
Yeah, and that was what initially got me there. And then as time went on, what really kept me going was as I hit those milestones, like, oh, okay, well, I haven't drank for a month, or I haven't drank for 2, or I've been I'm down 10 pounds, I'm down 15, and then I was like, well, where can I take this? You know what I mean? So then I was like, oh, I should drink more water. Oh, I should get more fruits. And then I started testing foods that I had never eaten. Like, okay, well, if I'm seeing this, let me try this. And so then I just started to tweak it. But really, it was my own accomplishments that really kept me going. Because as I started to see how I felt, how I looked, all those things started, and people are like, wow, you look really good, or this, there's little things that happen. You're like, yeah, I'm working really hard at it. Because at first no one notices. Sure. They know you don't do certain things, but no one notices. But then all of a sudden, like I said, you keep hitting these milestones. You just keep rewarding yourself with doing even more things and better things and abstaining more and, certain things. You know what I mean?
No, I do.
So that was it, really.
So what I hear from that is just because sometimes when we're ourselves, we don't realize it, like you built your own inner confidence. Because would you say you're a super confident person
No.
before?
I would always come across as being super confident.
But inside?
But inside it was a mess.
A mess.
A mess.
Right. So
100%.
you took the journey inward to fix the journey outward.
Well, and it was a quiet journey too. I didn't tell a lot of people because I didn't want a lot of outside influence or opinions or thoughts or whatever. It was a quiet beginning. I mean, now I can't hide certain things, but it was a quiet beginning because I didn't necessarily want to advertise it. I just wanted to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really want anybody's input. Not that I didn't value it, just that, I mean, I didn't know if I was going to fail. I didn't know if I was going to stick with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a person who doesn't want to be known as a failure. So, you know what I mean? It was my own private little thing that I was doing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you did it.
And if you don't have the pressure too, like you don't have the pressure of people like, oh, well, I see you ate that cookie or I see you ate that donut. Right. You know what I mean? Now you're like, oh, now I failed. And, you know, it blows everything up.
Yeah.
So I kept it quiet.
Yeah. It's a real life journey. What you went through is what a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
So if you were to sum this up into 5 tips for people like just getting started who've been on the journey, because now you don't really need to lose any more weight. So you're still on this journey, even though you're in maintenance, which is a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
I'm in the next chapter.
You're in the next chapter, but that chapter will take all the same tools that you just spoke about. So give me those 5 tools so we can be clear.
Oh gosh. So, I mean, I think first and foremost is it's mental, right? You got to really kind of deep dive into yourself and find out, you know, how do you see yourself in 5, 10, even 2 years? You know, what does this look like? You know, you keep doing what you're doing and the outcome's probably going to be the same, or you can tweak some things and maybe it'll be a little bit better, you know, and just really kind of starting within yourself.
Creating a vision.
Yeah, creating that vision.
What you want your future to look like.
You know, I mean, like I said, motivation doesn't really work, but what is your jumpstart? What does that for you? I think some of the 5 fundamental things, well, that being 1, but 2 would be you have to track what you do, what you eat, how much you're moving. You cannot do it blindly. You can't think, oh, I only ate this today or I only ate that. No, you have to track. It is so important to track what you put in your mouth. You don't realize how many licks, tastes, and what is the other thing Byron says?
Bites.
Bites you take of things and how those add up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to track every morsel of whatever you take in. Yeah. Tracking is really, really a big thing.
And just making it relatable. I know that you're a Pisces and that's a water sign and they like to be intuitive.
Yeah. And
you are an intuitive person, but you still
You can't do it without tracking. Okay. You have to know exactly what you're eating at all times. Prioritizing sleep, that was a big one. I understood again, in the research that I did, just the stress levels that your body goes through when it's not rest and recovered. Not getting proper sleep in general just throws off your everything. Do you know what I mean? I try to prioritize my sleep. It's very difficult with my work. Going back to, I know someone talked about naps earlier. I was never a napper. I am a napper. Like if I am tired, I can't even watch TV without, I can't watch a movie without falling. I was never like that. But let's say if I'm deficient in hours of sleep and a moment, presents itself, I nap.
Okay. So you can change. Even though you never were a napper, you are a napper now.
I'm a napper now. I get my sleep in.
Okay.
And then, I would research. I would find things that you want to know more about that would work for you, or like I would have questions about like my age, issues that I might have been having. I just deep dive. I did a lot of research. I educated myself. I bought a lot of books. I read a lot of books. If I don't know the answer, I go and find it. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll go here, and I did a lot of research, and then move your body every day, whether it's walking. I do Pilates, I weight lift, but that was another thing. I started to track my steps. So I went from 8,000 steps to 10,000 steps to 15,000 steps, all the way up to I've gotten over 20,000 steps in a day. That's a lot of steps. It's a lot of steps.
It's a lot of steps.
But you could do a simple thing. Like I found this loop that I started taking. It was only 2.7 miles, but it got me like 8,000 some steps. And I got that out in less than an hour.
Yeah.
So everything I had from there was just gravy. Right. It was just bonus steps. You know what I mean? So move your body every day and get sunlight. That was the other thing. I started to get up in the morning and go outside, get sunlight, get my steps in, and it literally would set the tone for my day. And then I just felt good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that almost becomes addicting. You know
It
what
can,
I mean?
well, for sure. Working out definitely can become
Yeah,
addicting.
it does. It becomes like, oh, this is what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Awesome. I mean, that's a great plan that most people should be able
and
to
there's
do.
they don't. I know I make them seem simple. I wouldn't try and do all of them at once. Just tweak one thing.
One thing at a time.
You know, like I said, I just tweaked how I cooked. You know, I didn't fry things. You know, that was a little step that I did.
Yeah.
I got rid of oils. You know what I mean? I didn't drink my calories. You know, there's little things that you can do here and there. I still allow myself a treat every now and then. You know what I mean? But, you know, just little tweaks will make a big difference. They add up over time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's no rush. This is forever, right?
Right.
So there's no rush to the end because there is no end. This is forever.
That's the difference between going on a diet and creating a lifestyle.
Yeah. Where I'm at today isn't even close to where I think I'll end up. You know what I mean? But there's beauty in the process.
Exactly.
You know?
Enjoying the process, right?
Absolutely. I've learned so much about myself and who I am as a person and setting boundaries, right? I've learned to set boundaries throughout this. You know,
Yeah.
When you have a certain lifestyle and you start to change it, you lose people, you gain people. You know, maybe not everyone's, you know, your people anymore. You know, you have new people.
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
But you create those boundaries. And once you start to learn to create those, it just becomes easier and easier. Again, you do it without thinking. And now I'm just going to go on to the next thing I want to do. What's next? You know, I just feel like it never ends.
Yeah. I mean, you're living your life. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
You're living your life. You're enjoying the process. And you're getting to know yourself. And there, like you said, there is no end game. You're just unfolding.
It is. And, you know, I mean, one other thing that I'll say, just since making these decisions, these lifestyle changes, I mean, my life has changed completely. I mean, I've been promoted 3 times at work. You know what I mean? People, you know, ask me all the time, like, tell me what you're doing. Like, I've inspired a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, I started going to you. We'd known each other a long time, but this is really like now I found like this is, you know, this has been great for me. You know what I mean? Like just me as a person, growing as a person. So it's not just physically, like emotionally, spiritually, and financially I'm growing.
Yeah.
Just in a year.
Yeah.
Just from making different decisions that work for me.
Right.
You know? But if anyone's in a rut, I think that anyone can benefit from lifestyle changes. We all know deep down if we're making good or bad decisions. We all know deep down that one thing that we do is a direct,
Totally.
It directly affects us over here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we can keep making excuses or whatever, and that's all it is. You know what I mean? And no one says you have to do everything overnight, but you do little things and they'll all come together, I promise.
Yeah. And I think what I've learned from you, and that I know if I had to boil all of your things down, it's commitment. It's making a commitment to yourself. The life's going to happen if you're committed.
Right.
You're going to get over the obstacles. Some you're going to win, some you're going to lose. But if you make the commitment, and I know that you have done that.
Yeah.
So.
And again, I mean, there's so many benefits to it. So those benefits just keep making me want to recommit.
All right. So are you ready to play a little game with us?
Of course.
Here at Resoluna, we like to pick a card.
Okay.
And you've done a lot of surrendering already, but we have a little surrender deck. And if you can shuffle the cards, whatever you need to surrender may resonate with our audience. And so we're going to pull a card.
Ooh, do I have to out loud say what I want to surrender?
Well, it's going to suggest to you what you could surrender by picking a card. So, so you don't have to do anything
but make a suggestion for me.
Yeah, what's the perfect guidance for you today that would take you to the next level of your journey?
You know, this is another thing you kind of add on to what you're doing.
I do it every day, every morning, just as a guidance system.
I
for
pull
myself.
cards or I'll, something. Here,
Let's hear it. What do you got?
Surrender to what is. Flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation compassionately, accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace.
Exactly.
So true.
And for those who are listening, being in reality and not wishing it were different is what the card is saying. And when we have expectations for things to be different than what they are, is where stress, anxiety, loss can come from. So surrendering what is a great tool just in general. So there you go, Courtney.
I like
and
it.
as a bonus, I'm going to let you pick 2 because we talked about this
why
before.
wouldn't
You're just like,
we?
is it okay?
Two's better than one.
Right?
You know
Like, why not? We can do whatever we want, right?
I'll let you read that one.
Okay. Well, basically it says, am I consistently showing up? Bam. Right? That's the question of, are you committed? Am I consistently showing up? And I feel like this sums up exactly what you just said in a nutshell. So thanks for showing up.
Consistency is key for sure.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for today.
Thank you. I felt like I've rambled on.
It's okay. People like.
That was great.
fast
Please
talk.
edit that to make me